Alright, so today we're gonna talk about something incredible. My first lightsaber. Okay, now keep in mind that this first lightsaber isn't gonna be amazing, okay? For reasons that I'm gonna explain. I just want to take a second to acknowledge that I'm really kind of a latecomer to this game, and there are already loads and loads of amazing lightsaber content creators out there. From reviewers, to programmers, to people who do artistic weathering. There are people who do amazing work, and I do absolutely none of that. So I'm not an expert by any means. I'm not an electrician, I'm not a sabersmith, I'm not an artistic weatherer, I'm not even a flow artist or a person who can do choreography, but I am going to be approaching lightsabers from a whole other angle. I'm actually going to be entering the Saber Legion, which is competitive lightsaber fighting. Isn't that exciting? I think it is. If you're familiar with my videos about the SCA, then you know that, well, I'm not really an amazing fighter either. But you know what? I'm going to have a lot of fun, and I invite you to join me. Knowing all that, let's take a look at the saber. Oops, almost forgot. Equip workies! Haha, don't want to scratch the finish on the new saber. I tell you what, I like this lightsaber project because I don't have to pretend like this table is a medieval table. I don't have to use a green screen or anything. I just pretend it's a space table, and that's why it's got all these cool space designs. And all this little dust you see on here, well, that's space dust. Yeah, keeping the fantasy alive. This lightsaber is one that I bought from AliExpress. I bought it directly from the TXQ store. Now, when I was doing my shopping, I noticed that there were a lot of American resellers that just basically resell these from Chinese stores. Okay, so this saber I initially encountered on tgcsabers.com, where it was called the Nemesis 3. And I looked around some more and found that it was on Rebel Sabers, and it was called the Goldenrod. And then I also found it on Crimson Dawn, and on Crimson Dawn it's called the Herald. Every different saber company has a different name for it. That's what drove me to try and buy it directly from the Chinese manufacturer. But what I didn't know is that there were different Chinese manufacturers. Even on AliExpress, I didn't realize that TXQ and LGT were two different companies that made, two distinct products. A good reseller will sell you some upgraded electronics, or at least some higher quality electronics. The more recent smooth swing technology that sounds better. A really good reseller will also give you the option of upgrading the electronics to pixel blades and what have you. A not good reseller will just give you the same stuff they get directly from China and just charge you a markup for it, which is why I opted to buy directly from AliExpress. When I did that, I realized that there were actually stores on AliExpress that sell the same saber for a different price. I only ended up paying about $75, $76 for this, and then plus some shipping, so it came out really to be about $86. And, that's quite a significant price cut. But I will say that the electronics on this, they're not great. This is a baselit saber, so if you notice, you look inside, it's got an LED light in there. So this is the blade that came with the saber. Now you notice a few things about it. This has a bullet tip here. I think it's a parabolic tip, actually. It is also a trans white blade, meaning that the material is this milky white color throughout. Another significant detail about this blade is the thickness of the walls. This is what's known as a show blade, because the wall is only about, I think it's like 1.5 millimeters thick. When you go practice with an organization like the Saber Legion, this is not up to their standards, okay? This is too thin. This is a little bit more fragile than the blades that they use. All the blades over time will eventually break, but this one will just break sooner. And I couldn't really tell you how long because I didn't really use this one at all. Even before the saber was delivered, I immediately purchased new blades for it so that I could go practice it with the Saber Legion group. This is one of the blades that I purchased for using with the Saber Legion. You notice that it's a little bit dirty, it's a little bit scuffed. That's because I already used it in practice. But this is also a trans white blade. You see the one on the left here, this is the show blade. You can see that this is the battle blade, because those walls are 3 millimeters thick. So that battle blade is definitely going to last a lot longer than a show blade when you're smacking it around. Okay, so this is a TCSS blade, which I'm pretty sure is short for the Custom Saber Shop. If you take a good, nice close look at it, you'll notice that it's basically a clear tube, and inside it's got some diffusion material. And the diffusion material kind of holds onto the light from the blade, because if you just had a clear tube, the light would just kind of shine out like a flashlight, and then you just look like a jerk just swinging a flashlight around. It's important to note that these blades only work with a base lightsaber. If you want to use one of those upgraded Xenopixel or Neopixel blades with the Profi boards or whatever, and the LED strips inside the blade, you need a totally different blade, which is more expensive. And when I get my hands on one of those, I'll show that to you too. Alright, this final blade is, it's called the Corbin style blade. This blade is also clear, and it also has diffusion material inside, but the diffusion material has a special property. I think it's polarized, or it has a grain in it or something, and basically what it does is that it gives the illusion that the light is brighter in the center, and kind of fades as it goes out to the sides. So it has a cool kind of like a dimensional effect. So I just wanted to show you how this thing works. You gotta hold the button down, and that activates it. And then it's got that cool light up button in there. And then you just turn it on. See? The thing actually looks a lot better in person. You hear that sound? That sound is the least annoying sound that the Saber Core has. The at-rest sounds aren't bad. Now you notice I'm swinging the thing around. It kind of picks it up sometimes, but... And it only plays that one sound. And it doesn't modulate it or anything. It doesn't adjust it for the length of my swing. So I've come to realize kind of late in the game that the sound isn't super great. So according to the research that I've been doing, this core is behind the times. It's like from a few generations ago, and it doesn't really even compete with my Force Effects lightsaber. So anyway, I was telling you that some of the sounds on here are kind of annoying. What? Oh, I just muted it. No, I didn't mean to do that.
I've been waiting for this day for a long time.
So I just changed the voice, and that's supposed to be Kylo Ren. Although, honestly, that first sound font sounded like it was supposed to be Kylo Ren. But here. So yeah, it's not great. So let's try another one.
I am a Jedi, like my father before me.
I think that's supposed to be Luke Skywalker. So, I mean, that doesn't sound... Okay, now here's a big problem that I have with this saber. This is supposed to be the swing. But it sounds like a blaster deflection. Alright, now let's push the button and see what happens. Okay, so what the heck is that? See, that should be the sound that you should make when you swing the saber. And then this should be the blaster deflection. Let's try some more of these, because they're really kind of comical.
That lightsaber was Luke's.
Okay, so who the heck is this supposed to be? Is this supposed to be Luke's lightsaber again? Maybe his original one? Is it supposed to be Maz Kanata? Maz doesn't have a lightsaber, so what gives, right? I mean, that doesn't sound like any lightsaber I recognize. That kind of sounds like a lightsaber, but also kind of sounds like a lawnmower. Or like, you know, it's like an electric bug zapper or something. That's a decent sound. I think this was one of the other least annoying sounds I could find on this saber. But then it's like, I'm swinging it, and it's like, am I trying to kill flies? Like, what's going on here? Let's keep looking. And Ben Solo? Is it supposed to be Ben Solo? I thought Ben Solo was Kylo Ren. I guess maybe he had a different lightsaber when he was training. It's very generic sounding. I mean, I don't recall any lightsaber sounding like this. Maybe I need to rewatch the movies.
You have something I want.
Okay, so this was the one that I had it set initially too. I mean, that sounded like Moff Gideon, and it kind of sounds like it's supposed to be the Darksaber, but I don't think this is the Darksaber, to be perfectly honest with you. Like, that's the one that I use by default because it's the least annoying. We skipped a couple because I had it muted by accident, so let's keep going. Okay, so this one is interesting because it's supposed to be Emperor Palpatine's, okay? But you turn it on, and the idle sound is literally the sound that I heard when I watched that episode of the Book of Boba Fett, where Din Djarin uses the darksaber in that fight. So I'm pretty sure that this is actually what the darksaber is supposed to sound like. I don't know about this. Okay, that's a good. The blaster deflection's pretty good. The saber is saying that this is supposed to be Emperor Palpatine, and I don't buy it. This is a decent, lightsaber for a kid to mess around with. I could see it being a lot of fun. The LED is nice and bright. I don't know why all these sabers you gotta hold down the button for so long to get it to hibernate. But when you do, check this out.
The resistance is dead. The war is over.
that makes me laugh every time. Because it's just like, when you're done playing Star Wars, you put your lightsaber down, and you get this message. The resistance is dead. The war is over. The good guys lost. The bad guys won. That just cracks me up. Okay, so we're gonna change out the cores, okay? So what I've done is to replace this, what I'm assuming is this kind of base level cheap TXQ core. I bought this core. You probably were looking at it over here. This is a core from Crimson Dawn. My understanding is that this is a slightly upgraded core. It's a newer generation. It costs a little bit more than the V6 Dark Wolf core that you can get over there at the Crimson Dawn website. So I'm assuming it's a little bit better. I did try this a little bit without putting it in the Saber, but it kind of sounded like crap. I'm not sure if that's because of the volume level or because it needs a resonance chamber or what. So I'm going to install that right now. First thing we're going to do is remove the blade. I'm going to use this little Allen wrench that was supplied with the Saber. And just about every Saber I know comes with one. You'll notice that the blade retention screws are these tiny little screws here. For this particular design of Saber, I think that's pretty good. I mean, it's consistent with the aesthetics. I was thinking about investing in maybe some of those thumb screws, or I think they're also called greebles. You can buy them on Etsy and from other specialized vendors. I mean, you can get them from AliExpress too. But a thumb screw might not necessarily jibe with the aesthetic of this Saber, so it'll make your life easier, but it won't necessarily look good with a nice sleek Saber like this. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to unscrew the handle. All right. Now, I don't know. At some point, I'll tell you about the adventure I had about shopping parts for the Saber. I've come to realize that the handle of this Saber has a thread which is entirely different from the thread in the emitter. I was driving myself crazy trying to use, one of those couplers in order to make a Saber staff, but the coupler does not work with the end of the Saber, and I was trying to demonstrate that to the people at the TXQ Facebook site, and they were not understanding me. They don't what? Use this one. Use this coupler. I was telling them no, it doesn't work. So I think they told me that the LGT coupler is different from the TXQ coupler. I'm not hoping that's correct, because I just purchased a couple of couplers from the LGT site, and they're not cheap, let me tell you. Once I found out that you can actually just buy parts and buy empty hilts and stuff directly from the manufacturers, I thought that for sure that it would be easy to build yourself a cheap Saber and save some money. But it turns out that's not even really the case, because you end up spending the same amount of money or more. So I think maybe those resellers must have special relationships with the manufacturer. They do charge a markup, but it's actually not that unreasonable. I'm coming to learn this. And I had to learn that the hard way, Fortunately, Crimson Dawn did give me a bunch of spare screws. Oh, shit. Just dropped my Allen wrench! Mother fudge staff! Alright, well, I'm not sure where I left off recording, but I just went ahead and removed these screws without my gloves on, because it's kind of a chore doing that with the gloves on. Alright, so this doesn't want to come out. I wonder what's holding it up. Could be the button. Can you use this key? There we go. Push down on the button. Oh, yeah, it was the button. The button held it down. Okay, now this is interesting. This is the core. This is the LED unit. That's the heatsink right there. Now, noticing something here, that this heatsink has come unmoored from this core. That kind of seems like a kind of a poor design. If you look over here at the Crimson Dawn one, this core is a little bit more enclosed here, and the heatsink and the LED unit are both enclosed inside the core. I really wish I had known enough in the beginning about lightsabers to be able to just buy this empty hilt, because this thing's really nice. I mean, I really like it. And if you do look around, I mean, for those of you that know, you can look around and actually find some really great lightsaber hilts, empty ones, and just outfit it with your own electronics. I think the first thing we're going to have to do is install this screw in the back. here's a part where I'm wondering if this core is going to be compatible with this hilt. I'm wondering if I put that screw in there, if it's going to destroy something. Hopefully most of these lightsaber cores are designed to work with each other. Alright, screwed it all the way in. That's as far as it'll go. Now the tricky part will get these screws in here, because this faceplate looks like it's kind of far away from the hole. Okay, so that was scary there for a minute, okay? The face buttons and the charging port didn't seem to want to be flush with the holes. So what I did is I went ahead and put in the screw, and I turned it upside down, and I let gravity help me. And I screwed this one in first, and I felt a little bit of tension, so I kept turning it, and it worked. This screw grabbed onto the threads on this part and pulled the unit closer, and then I did the same thing with the other hole. Now I'm just noticing now that there's actually a retention screw right up here. I assume it helps keep the core in place, kind of keep that nice and tight so the core doesn't bounce around. You know, you want as few vibrations as possible in there. Pop that in. You know, and this is what really makes this hobby fun, because you really feel like you're making your own lightsaber. I mean, I am not an electrician, okay? I do not have the skills to put something like this together. And I probably will never learn, just because that's a very intense thing, and I just don't have time. I admire anyone that has that skill and that, you know, that knowledge and that skill set. But this part is fun. I mean, just messing around with this, messing around with the inside, customizing it. Okay, now here's something I did not anticipate. With these old electronics in here, you notice that this LED did not have a housing. There might have been a reason for that, okay? The reason might have been in order to leave enough space in here to kind of accommodate the edge of a blade. Now that I have the Crimson Dawn core in there, I'm noticing that there is even less room in there than there was before. Might just need to loosen this retention screw here. I'm just gonna loosen this a couple of clicks. So this could just be human error. Okay. Yeah, okay, well, that might be a problem. I do think the blade is sitting at a different point than it was before. It's actually not the worst thing in the world, because you know what, guys? This is a single-handed saber here, but you know, sometimes you want to do two-handed technique, and you need a kind of a longer saber for that. And I bought some parts with the intention of lengthening this hilt. I bought some parts from Crimson Dawn without asking them first if these were compatible. But you know, the thing is I also kind of think that nobody really knows, and that's how I discovered that the threads on the handle are different from the threads on the emitter. I discovered, just for messing around, that they did work on the emitter end. I do have some extensions that I can use to make this connection more stable with the blade. Let's turn this sucker on. There we go. There we go. Well, that's different. I'm going to change the volume, because I did hear someone made I think it was a Grey Paladin or somebody, I don't remember who, made a video saying that the loud volume on the saber, because the saber is pretty loud, that the loud volume does not sound as good as the medium volume. So I'm going to try and change the volume right now.
Volume 5.
Okay, so let's try that. It doesn't really sound all that different. Let's try changing the color. Here we go. So you change the color by holding it down for 2 blips, and then the color just starts cycling on its own. Okay, so far so good. All right, let's try changing the sound font. That deactivation sound doesn't sound that good, right? It kind of sounds kind of cut off.
Raging Blade.
What did that say? Raging Blade? Some of you will know what that is, and I couldn't hear it exactly. Let's try it. Oh, I see. This was the blade effect. We just changed our blade effect. Okay, got it. I don't really like this because it's flashing. You know, if I had epilepsy, I might have a real problem with this. Don't love it.
Volatile Blade.
Okay, so that's the volatile blade. Alright, so I'm noticing that the flash on clash is a lot less sensitive than it was on the other core. And that's a good thing, because when I use this other core, the flash on clash would go off when I was just, spinning the blade. If you spun it fast enough, the flash on clash would just go off. Having the flash on clash go off easily like that kind of made the saber feel a little cheap, okay? I didn't like that. So now I want to change this lightsaber font. So I'm going to change the volume again.
Volume 11.
Okay, I don't want that. I don't want the music. There we go. Turn the music off. I gotta look at the instructions because the controls are actually quite different than they were on the other saber. Font control. Hold for 4 blinks. Okay. Before it was 2 blinks, now it's 4 blinks. So let's try it. 4 blinks. Okay, so this is Rey's blade now, okay? So let's hear it. And I do notice it swinging this thing. It does actually have legitimate smooth swing. It adjusts itself to my swings, okay? I'm not loving the sound quality. The sound quality is actually not quite as good as the other core. So that's kind of interesting.
Don't know the power of the dark side.
That sounds like Darth Vader. I will say this. This lightsaber is a lot bassier than the other one. I'm not registering the movement noises as much as I was on the other one. Which is both good and bad. It's bad because they're not as obvious, and I can't really... It's hard to tell if the saber's actually doing anything, but when I do hear it, I can tell that it's reacting very well to my movement. Sounds a little muddled, almost. So, that's a little worrying. I think that was Kylo Ren. I'm not sure.
The dark side of the Force is a pathway to many abilities some consider to be unnatural.
Now, what are some of the things you can do here? Lock up, hold for 1 blink. That was supposed to be a movie quote. Yeah, like I keep saying, the idle sounds and the movement sounds are more bassy. They sound a little muddy.
I am a Jedi, like my father before me.
Okay, so this was one that the other saber had. Let's see the difference here. What was nice about that is that, that sounded what a lightsaber is supposed to sound like.
At last we will reveal ourselves to the Jedi. At last we will have revenge.
I believe that's, don't tell me, that's, God, I know his name, I just can't think of it right now, because I'm stupid. Darth Maul. I see, that's one of the most distinct movement sounds I've heard so far.
You have something I want.
Okay, now here's the Darksaber. Let's see what the Darksaber is really supposed to sound like. On that other core, that sound was mapped to, Palpatine. See, the people that made this core weren't really paying attention, alright?
It's over, Anakin! I have the high ground!
It's Obi-Wan, alright.
I'm Cal Kestis.
This is a character I'm not familiar with, but I've heard his name a lot in the last few days. I don't know who he is. I think he's a protagonist of, Jedi Fallen Order. I'm not sure. Haven't played it yet. Sitting on my shelf, haven't played it yet.
Rey Skywalker.
There's Rey again, so we circled back to the beginning. Now with this new core in, it sounds more like a lightsaber and less like a cheap toy. So that's a plus, definitely a plus. So you want to cycle through the colors? Red, yellow, green, blue, white, although it looks kind of more like Lucky Charms milk than white to me. No, I don't. It doesn't seem as bright. Let's turn the lights off. There we go. I noticed it's kind of hard to capture the colors no matter what kind of camera you have. When I'm looking at this with the naked eye, the tip is red. But looking at it through the camera, it's got a yellow glow in there. So I'm not really sure what's causing that. Maybe the mirror tip, I don't know. There's a bright yellow patina here at the bottom on the camera. But looking at it in person, the naked eye, that's not red. I mean, it's not yellow at all. It's completely red. Cameras don't always do them justice. This saber was intended to be a holdover, an in-betweener, for when my custom saber from Saber Forge came. Because I got a saber that I really like from Saber Forge. Those take forever to get delivered. And then, kind of being impatient, I ordered another one from Rebel Sabers, one of their exclusives. And that one is also proving to take forever too. So I don't know what it is with this lightsabers and why everything takes forever. And now, so I ordered some parts to customize this with. That's also now taking forever too. When I purchased this saber from the TXQ store, I got this in a very timely manner. So I am very satisfied with my purchase from the TXQ store. And I may just order another one from them, even though I have one on order right now from another company called Sealtan. Of course, it's a little bit suspicious that it was like, $20, $25 less expensive than this one, which was already like $75, $76. So I ended up only paying like $53, $54 for it. They're doing some shenanigans where they said that it's shipped, but it hasn't really shipped. They just gave me a tracking number, and the tracking number hasn't logged any data. I'm a little worried about that. If they just sent me the empty hilt, I'd be perfectly happy. Because I've got a bunch of these Crimson Dawn cores, so I'm just gonna stick a Crimson Dawn core in there anyway. Well, I mean, that's it. That does it for this little demo here. Okay, guys, well, I hope you like this. I'll see you in the next one, okay? Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you on the battlefield.
115.
Okay, that's not what And I'll see you on the battlefield.